Okay, we're live. There's things happening. We are streaming to the world, whether the world wants us to stream to it or not.
Hello.
And yes, hello everyone. We're a little
Hey.
bit late. We're streaming to the world, and shall we get started?
The world doesn't have a choice.
No. The world is basically just going to have to take what we give them. Let's get a move on. Welcome to Australian Transformers Weekly. We are bringing you Transformers news from around the world and directly from Travis Knight's living room. Bumblebee is out this week. Some of us have seen it. We might talk a little bit about it later on. This is episode 176. We are recording live, kind of late into the night on December 14th, 2018. In this episode, we will be talking about Bumblebee. Some more images of Masterpiece 44, the new Convoy 3.0, have come out. Bumblebee and Walmart and Bumblebee and maybe some more Bumblebee. So we'll see how that goes.
Have images of MP44 coming out?
Yes, and so have multiple images arranged into a moving picture that forms the movie known as Bumblebee.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
All that and more coming up after this. All right, ready? Ready? Okay. All right. Okay, everyone, welcome to the show. I am Jason. Joining me this week. We've broken our cardinal rule. We don't have a Brad this week. What's going on? I don't know.
Minus the Brad, but plus the John.
Yes, this is true. This is true. And, I hear a rumor that we actually can't contain Brad and John in the same room at the same time. John, coming to us from Queensland for the first time in a while. How are you doing, mate?
Oh, I'm doing good. Good to be back. Sorry that I haven't been on in so long. Just been busy packing bots for people lately.
You know what? We're sorry that you haven't been on as well. The show has been Johnless without you.
I'm sure it would be, but
Yeah.
don't worry, I've brought my Johnness for this show, so we'll pack it full,
Excellent. Coming to us from South Australia, Max, how are you doing?
I'm feeling pretty good. Mostly on account of having seen Bumblebee.
But Max has got the Bumblebee vibes. I've also got Bumblebee vibes, but our vibes are a little bit different. But we might talk about that a little bit later on. This is probably our last proper show for the year. We'll see whether there's more shows to come and what form they take. But let's take it as this is the final podcast of the year. So if you are listening to the podcast around Christmas time, Merry Christmas to you and yours, and hopefully there's some Transformers under your tree. Shall we talk about some news?
Yes.
Yes, good. Okay. And just
how else to respond to that?
You generally just say yes. So we are going to be we are skipping some bot shots. There was no bot shots competition this week. The way the bot shots competition is structured is that all of the monthly winners from 2018 now I believe it says here they enter a Thunderdome.
They're going to fight to the death. Dun, 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 dun.
No, I believe that's right. They enter the Thunderdome. 11 winners enter, although I think it's only more like 3 winners because they're all the same person. And 1 winner leaves with the major prize for the year. I'm not sure we know what the major prize is just yet, but details, they're going to be ironed out soon. And look, whoever wins that major prize will be happy with it, I'm sure.
And then they take the losers' heads as mantelpieces. Something like that.
Maybe. I think that's only if they have changeable faces.
Not the bots, of course, not the actual people.
Well, I don't really want to restrict what people do with their mantelpieces. Okay.
Look, I've never gone far enough in that competition to really speak to experience, so got no way to say that they don't.
Yeah, true. Very, very true. Look, okay, let's talk about a little bit of news. We've got some new scans have emerged of the the most controversial figure in Transformers history. I think the Masterpiece Convoy 3.0 MP44. It's looking like he's going to be the most expensive Masterpiece Transformer ever. After we've been shell shocked by the prices of Dinobot and Beast Wars Megatron in the last year. We're generally seeing prices between $500 to $600 for the new Masterpiece Convoy. So he's definitely going to be up there on the pricing front. Now, Max, I think you and Brad talked a little bit about the value proposition for the figure last week. What we're looking at the moment is the scans from the Generations 2019 magazine that seems to have just escaped some of the printers. It's the scans have come out in China. We've got the scans up on screen. We'll sort of scroll through them slowly. But what do you think? Do these scans look? Do they change your mind in terms of value or desire to own the figure?
I mean, I do maintain that I think it's probably the best Transformer I've ever seen. Like, it looks phenomenal. There's no question there. The issue is the price, and that is it. Like, I can't levy any sort of complaint against this figure as a figure whatsoever. Any point of contention comes from the price alone.
John, how are you feeling about the price of MP44?
Yeah, it's a tough one, eh? Like, I mean, yeah, like I'm with Max. Like, as far as primes go, like, not it's the best looking one, but yeah, the price, like, it's just tough. Like, I'd have to wait till I physically see it in my hand, like, you know, because if it's perfect, like, you know, if it looks how it looks and then it still holds well, like, I guess, but you know, yeah, it's harsh that it's that much, really. They're just milking Prime's value, I think. I'm just worried about the special editions or repaints.
So this is probably a good time to say I have pre-ordered it.
Yeah, I've pre-ordered it.
It is coming. It's going to join my collection next August.
I needed a new Starscream.
Did you just need a new Starscream head?
I wasn't going to get it, honestly, and then it's like, but I heard rumors about the Starscream parts, and as soon as I saw them, I was like, all right, I'm getting it.
Fair enough. Look, we do have the Starscream parts shown in the picture at the moment. There's sort of the shoulder vents and a Starscream face to allow you to mimic that episode of the cartoon where Starscream managed to take over Prime's body.
It sucks because I'd love to, but like definitely not at that price. I just can't, you know. Like, cause I'd love one as Starscream and one as a Prime, but they're making it tough, eh?
Yeah. One of the that is not what
that's not the podcast.
Not what I wanted to happen there. That was work slack. One of the things that I find interesting about the figure is the effects pieces. So I'm just trying to find the photos of them. The effects pieces that you can see here, they've got both cannon blasts and jet blasts. I think they're the same piece, but yeah. I find that they add quite a new dimension that we haven't really seen in Masterpiece figures before. I mean, we've seen jetpacks, but we haven't necessarily seen the sort of attempts to mimic their cartoon effects before.
I mean, the closest we've seen was on MP36 with a sort of sword beam / laser effect.
Yeah, that's right.
It's nice that they're sort of going that way now, though, like, because, you know, they're like, especially with the price, but like every other company that does figures, they do have sort of effects like this.
That's right. Yeah.
It's nice that now they're deciding to start putting it in. Really, like.
Yeah.
Speaking of like effects, if I go just a sort of a step further than getting effects is picking up weapons. We have a current sale on in Australia at the moment where Big W is selling off movie deluxes and Voyagers for $5 and $10. And I saw a note from someone in the group earlier today saying that they had picked up the Voyager, maybe deluxe, I don't know, Hound from the last night for dirt cheap from Big W, and they were intending to just harvest his weapons. Hound does come with quite a variety of weapons, and so more power to them. Good on you. But those the effects pieces I find particularly effective actually for
he comes with 3 heads, doesn't he? Because he comes with 1 head, then an alternate head, and then the damaged head.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
I think if you scroll up, I believe that's the first image we've seen of that alternate head.
Yeah, because that's definitely a different head from the one that's on, like there in the 2 pictures. It's 2 different heads.
There definitely are. You can see the sort of the different animation style coloring, perhaps around
Yeah,
the grey there.
his mouth guard goes up like
Mhm.
that, and then on the other one it's going down.
Yeah,
So it's clearly
Yeah, the one below that seems more in line with sort of later G1, like
Japanese stuff.
yeah, Japanese G1, and then more later Western interpretations of G1 Prime as well.
It's a bad
Right.
though, isn't it?
So of course, look, we've been talking a bit about MP44 without necessarily referring to the scans of the magazine. I find the number of poses that they're able to get this into for magazine photos pretty amazing. There's sort of the classic just gotten off the shuttle and just about to transform into truck mode pose from the beginning of the final battle for him in the movie on the left there. There's sort of charging into battle, shown down on the bottom right there. And there's things there with the jetpack. We've actually been given a look, which I'm quite amazed at this. We've got to look at how the figure actually transforms here as well, and this has actually come up for quite a bit of discussion and chat this week. In that, I don't think any of us were expecting parts of the cab to form part of Prime's legs.
Yeah, this is like we talked about recently. Masterpiece transformations get crazier and crazier, and they pull off, different engineering processes to, achieve that accuracy. That's a motion that we've never really seen on a Prime before.
Absolutely.
And you also see those parts completely disappear within the legs. It's not just like you have this sort of chunky truck, like blue truck bed that forms into a smoothed out blue legs.
I'll be honest. I feel like between steps 3, 4, and 5, there's a bit of voodoo magic happening there. Like the magazine scan is unfortunately just quite bright, but like I don't quite understand how we get from this to this.
No, I have no idea.
I'm trying to look at it like now myself, and
fascinated to find out.
I don't get it. Yeah, I feel like there's about 15 steps of folding that are missing in some of these instructions.
It's not just that section of
nice masterpiece transforming instructions.
I mean, it's not just that section of a figure, totally changes shape. It's that it also has two massive chunks of a cab completely disappear inside it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very impressive. I feel like we're seeing a flip of the windows, because there was some discussion over the fact that the people thought from the initial scans that the chest design looked like it was fake, because we couldn't match up some details on the windows between the robot mode and vehicle mode. And I feel like we can see here that some of the windows might actually flip around, and that might explain some of those discrepancies.
They definitely flip. You can see on, like, if you look on panel 8 and then panel 9 in the instructions, you can see the little yellow, and 6, like the yellow bits on the window down the bottom.
Yep.
But then obviously when he's transformed, after 9 and finished, they're up the top.
Yep. Yeah, quite right. So look, this guy's going to be quite the marvel of masterpiece engineering, I feel.
Yeah, look, so I guess that's the thing. That the price is the issue, but there is clearly a lot more going on here than just about any other masterpiece, it looks like.
I think that's quite accurate. What actually grabs me looking at these last shots of the transformation, as well as when we've seen prototype photos of this, we've sort of assumed that hey,
it turns out if you keep scrolling down, there's way clearer shots.
Good-o.
That glare.
Okay, cool. Well, let me
keep going.
There we go. Right. So, So what's getting me about these shots here is that you can actually see the level of paint application on the forearm here. There's you can sort of see the shine of the lights under which the shots were taken, and so I feel like we had kind of assumed that this was just going to be sort of like matte red plastic from some of the photos that we'd seen, but I think it might be in for a little bit more of a treat in terms of the amount of paint that is applied to Convoy 3.0.
Yeah, if it's anything like, Sunstreaker and Megatron and all that, it should have a nice glossy finish to it
Yeah.
on the final product.
I feel like that's what we're going to see. Also, we can see sort of the new style Masterpiece hand coming out there as well. Just sort of the extra joints on the parts that fold out.
I couldn't quite make out if the individual fingers were separated, but there is definitely extra knuckles in there.
Yeah, I don't think the individual fingers are. You can sort of see the back of the hand there.
Yeah.
As well as there was something.
Because at least there's a little bit more.
So you can see sort of the hands on this shot as well.
Yeah. So maybe if it's not separated, at least it's more, just a little bit more expressive than it has previously been.
Yeah. Look, I think they're going to be like Sunstreaker and Megatron's hands. I feel like that's the new standard for Masterpiece.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but it's pretty comfortable for Masterpiece.
There's a shot with Starscream's head on, and he's holding Prime's head. It looks like they can see. There you go.
Yeah, look at that.
Looks like they can all move.
Oh, Max.
Oh,
look at that.
On it.
I mean, Gundam's
very exciting.
Doing it for years, so.
Look, it shouldn't be impossible to achieve this level of detail, right? Especially in a figure that you're going to pay $600 for. But yeah.
Well, that's it. I guess that's what, we do whinge, but realistically, that's it. Every little bit is engineered really nice now. Everything does properly move how it should move. As long as it all holds together and isn't loose, I think will be worth it.
I tend to agree. Yeah. Look, that's So those are the new MP44 scans. We haven't really talked too much about the vehicle mode. Anything stand out from the vehicle mode?
The roller thing, like that bit, what's that thing called? Like that bit detaches as well and has wheels and can be.
I'm not sure that we actually have a name for this. It's just sort of always sort of been.
Isn't it a repair bay or something?
Yeah.
Station.
Yeah, because if you keep going and having a look, there's a picture of it detached. It's got wheels.
It's freestanding. Yes.
Full rollers carrying it. I'm like, that's really cool. I think it's a nice little extra just to, we've been playing with Prime cabs for years and that, and it's always just been stuck there. And it's funny to think that that's probably the original design.
It is, isn't it? It's always been sort of glued into the trailers, and now it's got wheels, which it never had on any of the previous toys, but maybe it was meant to.
Well, that's it, because I can't see them changing Prime's aesthetic, going, oh, let's just add shit to it. If anything, I think them going, well, let's make it what we truly wanted.
Yeah, might have been from a piece of concept art like Studio Ox or something for G1. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's possible. If anything, this bit sort of looks like a Diaclone to me.
Yeah, it does.
It has that sort of modular style to it, eh?
It does. I mean, look, obviously, Convoy's original mold was from Diaclone, but I mean, what I mean is that this looks like the Dia Battles molds with sort of the gentle slope.
Yeah, you're right. I always thought that the cockpit and that, it's the little, where the little dudes would go.
Totally is. I wonder if we can bring pilots from Dia Battles into this Masterpiece. We'll find out in August 2019, shall we?
Farewell, now.
Some of us will, I guess. Some.
Yes. Some.
Too outraged.
So
you talk about that price, value. You could see also on the human figures are much more posable and detailed than we had before.
Pretty genderless figures. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Still no faces though.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like, yeah, look, we can make them a lot more articulated, but you are not going to get eyes and a mouth on them. Nah. They do have noses.
Prime stole them all.
Yeah. All right. Look, I think that's enough. That's enough contemplating Masterpiece 44. There's a few sort of sketches in the making of here. These will all be linked in the show notes if you really want to take more of a look at them up close.
It's just funny because then if you have the damaged Prime head on, it'll be sort of like Zombie Prime, and then you'd come up to the people going Zombie Prime, and they'll all just turn with no eyes and shit, and they'd be like, ah!
Yeah. The look, something's got to give it the scale of the humans, right? So fair enough. And of course, there's one shot there of the damaged chest piece that we're expecting to see as well, which is of course where Megatron runs Prime through with the like dagger, I guess it is, or whatever during their final battle in the movie, and the damaged Prime head. All right, shall we move on?
Yes.
All right, let's move on. Not sure what we are moving on to. No, I do know what we're moving on to. So we have been seeing a few G1 reissues turn up over the course of 2018 in Walmart in the USA. Now, Walmart being Walmart, we can't get the figures here. We're led to believe that our Minibot reissues that have come out through Cotton On are sort of related to the Walmart reissues as well. But in the last few days, we've actually seen the G1 Minibot reissues that we've seen at retail here show up at retail in the States as well.
The Cotton On bots were through Sears.
Yeah.
Bankrupt.
Sears went bankrupt, did you say?
Yeah.
Oh, when did that happen?
Well, like recently, in the last 2-3 months, they filed for bankruptcy and stuff. Like their stocks dived down real low and everything.
Oh.
But obviously, yeah, some places probably got rid of a whole bunch of stock.
Fair enough. So the reason I brought that up was because I did see some comments on some of the news sites this week showing that the figures were showing up at US retail, but not Walmart. So I took that to be that they were getting a bit of a wider release. But it seems to me like they're more likely to be the G1 Minibots that we've gotten, sort of going a little bit wider. So we still don't have any news about figures like Starscream, Hot Rod, or Devastator coming out for a release in Australia, which is quite disappointing. I feel like I'd go out and buy a Devastator, perhaps. But yeah.
I know a guy we can get you on.
Yeah, I think I know that guy too.
Yeah.
So anyway, it looks like Hasbro is ready to move on to the next round of releases for the Walmart series, and they have put up a bit of a versus tournament grid. So Perceptor versus Astro Train and Thundercracker versus Skywarp, and it seems like the winner will be one of the Walmart releases, sort of later into 2019.
I reckon Astro Train and Thundercracker will be who wins.
So only one is going to win. So whoever wins out of Perceptor versus Astro Train and Thundercracker versus Skywarp, and this has actually been already decided, I believe, and Astro Train was in fact the winner. Now, there's good and bad about that. Astro Train has not actually seen a re-release in his original colors, I think actually since the original G1 days. But of course, the mold does exist for doing a reissue of Astro Train because he was in the Platinum set, although in weird colors. Weird colors. They were not even Diaclone.
Yeah, until it came out, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's disgusting."
I've seen that set go really cheap, and even then, I can't bring myself to pick it up. So look, all of the other figures, and I feel like this is probably why Astro Train won. All of the other figures have had re-releases in recent years. Thundercracker and Skywarp probably more on the e-hobby side, but Perceptor was in the Intel Ops set a couple of years ago, and Thundercracker and Skywarp. Yeah, I feel like it's been a while since we've seen them specifically, but you could probably find an e-hobby release of them, or possibly even just general encore releases. I'm not sure.
Yeah, like the 3 Seeker set and stuff.
Oh, so the 3 Seeker set was the Coneheads, so maybe not.
The Coneheads, they didn't do the Nolan?
I don't think
I think they've
did.
done individual reissues of at least Starscream in the recent batch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know they've done Starscream.
I think the Conehead thing was also, a bit in response to they've reissued the Central 3, multiple times beforehand, whereas they haven't really done it with the Coneheads.
Yeah,
that's right. So still, seems like Astro Train is the winner, and there might well be a bunch of G1 aficionados attempting to collect a G1 Astro Train reissue in the next few months from Walmart USA. We'll see how that goes. What is coming up next? For those of us who are into IDW figures, we do have a Planet X version of IDW's Star Saber. Now, Max, you're going to have to refresh my memory on Star Saber. I feel like while Star Saber sort of came in around sort of the tail end of More Than Meets the Eye season 1, I don't think he lasted very long, did he?
He sort of rocked up, killed a couple people, came back in towards the end of Lost Light, died. Yeah, that's pretty much it. He's very much like, if you go into that comic expecting G1 Star Saber, he's very much not that.
Oh, definitely not.
Like, but I still found him pretty cool for the short amount of time that he was in the comic.
And so this, so Planet X has rendered a very faithful reproduction of the figure. Now, I feel like this guy's quite big.
He has a lot of bulk to him, but he looks a bit more like he likes to move a bit more organically, and he doesn't look as brickish as the Deathsaurus. If that makes any sense. Like, it's the same aesthetic, but I think this nails the proportions a lot better, and consequently seems to have a bit more room to move.
I think you're right. Like, I've been a little bit disappointed with the Deathsaurus figures that we've seen from I guess all the manufacturers so far, but this does seem more likely to capture the comic aesthetic. In a way, it almost looks like some of the Flame Toys figures, the way the sort of the chest and the waist sort of flow down and thrust out to the front. But I feel like that kind of works for Star Saber.
Yeah, he does fit in with the. There is also like just that little bit of added detail to him. You know, because he's obviously very much still a classic. You know, very much like a Gundam-ish super robot, which is, you know, fairly well in line with a lot of the later IDW designs. So, you know, you add a bit of detail to that and he fits right in.
I think so. And there does seem to be a very big sword attached to his left shoulder.
Yeah, it's interesting that Planet X, since I think these are their first two figures that they're actually doing a foray out of Fall of Cybertron designs, which is probably a wise decision from a business perspective.
Yeah,
given that Fall of Cybertron released 6 years ago.
Yeah, I feel like they can only really keep going to that well so much. But also, I think it's probably prudent for them as well, given the Fall of Cybertron's about to be redefined in terms of the Hasbro Siege toy line as well.
Yeah, I guess.
And also, MMC's proven that there is money in them their comic designs, right?
Yeah, comics. I mean, it almost feels like that is maybe the biggest subset aside from just pure G1 of the third party market is just pure IDW designs. I feel like maybe this is also a matter of them wanting to get in on that before the desire for IDW style figures runs away.
Yeah, look, I can see that. I can see that market sort of like waning a little bit in the next few months. I guess once MMC gets a few more of their Lost Light or More Than Meets the Eye inspired characters out of the way, and IDW reboots with who knows what art style. Yeah, like I feel like maybe people will be clamoring for the comic style figures a little bit less.
I feel like IDW also opened up the door for Planet X in a little bit, in some small way, because they brought in a lot of the Fall of Cybertron designs to just serve as their designs for the characters on Cybertron. So, like, I've got my Planet X Acid Storm isn't there for a Fall of Cybertron figure. It serves as an IDW figure.
I see. Yeah. I look at happy coincidence, I guess. John, are you looking to add a Star Saber to your collection?
Yeah, but funnily enough, I'm gonna get the Flame Toys one.
Right. Okay.
I'm so keen on the Tarn, so, and it's just something good to go with him. Something they can fight each other.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, this one looks all right. Like, it's not bad, but it's the head I don't actually like.
I was sort of looking at the head design there. So if we there's no other sort of close-ups of it.
Maybe once it's painted, it'll look better. But it just, because that eye slot, like, it's just dark and it looks too like elongated, like there's too much space inside there,
Mm.
like an empty Knight's helmet.
Yeah, it also doesn't
Yeah,
seem to
I
be
see.
quite in line with either G1 or IDW. Like, it's got the extra bells and whistles on the side, but it doesn't have quite a detail of the comic.
Yeah, it's like I'm not a huge it's not like I'm a massive like Star Saber G1 fan. Like I only watched it, once I was a lot older. But I like Gundams and that it looks more Robotech, but yeah, it just looks weird. I don't know. I just need to see color on it, I guess.
Yeah, look, it's early days yet being a prototype, so I would expect to see some color
And they are just
color
figures.
test shots coming up.
It is a figure, just like Flame Toys, and it doesn't transform.
Oh, this is.
I figured
it's still
this is going to transform.
But we just haven't seen it yet.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense then, because I was sort of being a bit harsh too, because I was thinking if it's just a figure, like it's kind of chunky,
Mm.
doesn't look that articulated, but if it transforms, that makes sense. That probably a lot
Yeah,
better.
Planet X's stuff is definitely transforming.
Yeah, I knew Deathsaurus did, but it's just they just didn't show any shots, and it's hard to tell.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. You know what? I actually am missing a story from the run sheet here. So I'm going to duck over here, go to colored images there, open this dude up, and there we go. So we've talked a little bit about IDWs, not IDWs, Iron Factories, Decepticon Justice Division. There, Iron Factory is sort of trying to please the fans of the comics by making a team of the DJD, some of the long-standing villains from IDW's More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light comics. And they are, of course, doing them in tiny scale, just like they do most of their stuff. Now, they've also given them the distinction of making them a combiner, which they are definitely not a combiner in the comics, but IDW will be making IDW. God, I keep saying IDW. Iron Factory will be making their figures combine. Now, we've seen some individual photos, and today we've got some pictures of the combined ones. Now, I do think it's kind of funny that the combined mode looks like a giant tarn.
I think it's very much the intent, and you also part of the way it seems they achieve that is by not having each individual character forms an individual limb. Like the color separation isn't this limb is this color, this limb is this color. It's in different shapes. It's all like they've separated the parts of each figure so it all comes across looking fairly not uniform necessarily, but symmetrical.
Yeah. So so you don't get the sort of off balance color, which is
quite unconventional for a combiner.
Yeah, look, I think it's fair to say that Tarn, would not really suffer having a non-uniform color balance to his combined form. So I think they've done justice to Tarn, and I don't really know. I don't know what possible damage they might have done to the individual bots or vehicle modes for the figures in order to accomplish this, but I guess we will. I guess we'll see.
The individual bots all look decently.
Yeah, they look.
None of them look like they have any visible flaws on them. I mean, at the end of the day, they'll probably be a decent price and also come out before MMCs. Even though MMCs started theirs 2 years ago.
They do look like they're sort of in the vicinity of I think $40 to $50 per figure.
Yes, it's.
Although there are a couple that are obviously much bigger than the others as well.
Yeah. Even a couple really big, fairly expensive ones. I think the value proposition is probably there, given how much Iron Factory packs into these little guys, and just how much is visible in these images.
Iron Factory always does have quite a lot of detail in their figures. I personally find that while the robot modes are generally quite detailed and reminiscent of the comics, I find that their alt modes are kind of sometimes a bit of a hodgepodge.
That's sort of Iron Factory's. I guess that's how they do it, isn't it? It's always going to be robot mode first. Some ambiguous vehicle mode that's cobbled together after the robot mode's finished.
Now, there's a bit of a controversy going on with the artwork that they're using to promote these figures. Is this the artwork at the bottom here?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so it does seem like this artwork is not actually Iron Factory's artwork. I do remember looking at it and commenting that it looked quite good a few weeks back when this came up, and turns out the reason it looks quite good is because it was actually created by an IDW artist and has been reused without permission.
Yes, but you know what else has been
that's,
reused without permission?
The entire thing.
Yes.
So it doesn't make it better.
No, it doesn't make it any better, but it doesn't necessarily make it any worse either. I just think it's not much. There's no real way to reconcile taking issue in one sense, but not the other.
Look, I think the point is that by building the bots, they're using Hasbro's IP, but by taking the art, they're actually taking an artist's work rather than a Hasbro design.
And I suppose also when it comes to the figures, they are, they're based off of it's an intellectual property infringing design, but the figures themselves are totally original. So whereas the art is just completely ripped off of the comic cover.
Yeah. Which look, I think it's a shame that they have to do it, but yeah, it's not likely to change in the short term. Now, I don't really see the alt modes of these guys around in this story. At least they must have come out previously.
Iron Factory doesn't really throw out a lot of promotional pictures of her alt modes because, well, they're generally not very good.
So you're not going to display this guy in alt mode, are you?
No, he's either going to be combined or as a nice little team there.
Yeah, that's true. So, John, I think you mentioned that you were going to collect the MMC versions of these guys rather than Iron Factory. Was that you were saying that a few minutes ago?
No, I'm saying I'll get these.
Get these?
Yeah, because I like the fact that it seems like it's going to be a set. Yeah, so I like that. Like, just get this full set of them. Just have the 5 of them. Right.
So I believe some of them are out, but not all of them. So these are EX 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35. So you do have to buy them individually. They might well put a set out later. I think they did that with their Combaticons. Was it Max? I think they put out the individual bots, but then they put out the gift set of one of the repaints.
No, they did Goldagus as a complete set.
Yeah, I say gift set. It was just a set, right? Like you can gift it to whoever you want. But yeah, so for now, these guys are for sale individually, although I think it's possible that some of them might be in 2-packs.
I don't think they're 2-packs, but they're like a staggered release. So it's like a wave, basically, 2 figures come out at a time. But not in the same release. Yeah.
And those releases have started. So if you do want to start collecting these, I suggest you start looking for them because if picking up Iron Factory figures after release is generally quite annoying and difficult and quite an expensive undertaking.
Yeah, no,
I think that's one of the reasons we talk about them a little bit before they come out now.
Yeah, no, I'll see what we've got in stock.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's keep going. So we did say earlier that we're going to talk a little bit about Bumblebee. We are sort of coming towards the end of the show, so we're not going to talk about Bumblebee too much. Like it's a bit early days to sort of go spoiling everyone with our thoughts on the movie, but we will be looking to record a sort of a more dedicated Bumblebee spoiler talk. Everyone's seen it and all in round table on what we think of it. But for now, like let's talk about maybe our experience of going to see it today, Max. Like you saw it at one of the cinemas in Adelaide. I saw it at a preview screening or an advanced screening in George Street in Sydney. I actually took the afternoon off to go and see Bumblebee and just go and chill in the city a little bit. Cinema wasn't super packed out, given that it was a 1 p.m. session on a Friday afternoon. When I say super packed out, it wasn't really busy at all. It wasn't a VMAX cinema, so it was very large cinema and very sparsely populated with people. I was quite happy to see parents taking their kids.
Yeah, so was I.
Was that happening? So that was happening in your screening as well?
Yeah, almost to an annoying extent, because there was this one little kid in the back right who just kept applauding when fun stuff happened. Like, this isn't America or India. You don't applaud in the cinema.
No,
good for him.
You know what? You say that, but the pop that Captain America got in Infinity War in the cinema that I saw it in was just astonishing. Like, people were so into it, and when he appeared on screen, wow, there was a cheer.
Jeez, I just can't. And this is going off topic now, but it just breaks my immersion completely every single time. It's like, are you that incapable of containing your emotion?
I think it's fine. I think it's fine to have a little bit of an emotion slip out while you're watching a movie, and I'm happy that people are that excited and that happy about stuff that they do. Like, one of the most fun movie going experiences I've ever had was actually watching. I think it was The Mummy Returns, or the second Mummy movie, in a cinema at a premiere screening, and it was packed out, and the audience was totally into it. So, like, there was like gasps and shocks, and people clapping, and there was lots of laughter as well. And so like it's funny you're saying like contain your emotion, but like people will laugh out loud.
I think it's differences, like laughter or like screaming in a horror movie or something. That's something that the movie is intending for you to do.
I can't remember the movie. Like, I remember once something happened in a movie that, like, if you were switched on, you could sort of tell that that's what was going to be announced or happened. But when it got said, and then it pauses, someone in the cinema went like, "Oh shit!" Like that, like the whole cinema just started laughing, and like that, like it just went completely quiet, like, because that was the moment that you get told, and it was just so funny that this one person was just blown away.
There's always the one person who has an epiphany in the quiet moments, right?
Yeah. Like, like,
Whoa. So look, a couple of things we'll talk about with Bumblebee that we won't get spoilery with it. We have seen stills and footage over the last couple of months revealing that there is I'm not going to say an extensive part of the movie, but I don't think we expected it to be very extensive. Set on Cybertron. I think we sort of said that it was likely to be a few minutes at the start of the movie. So that's correct.
Is it definitely a reboot then? Now, like, not that personally, I still love the Bay films and enjoyed all of them. Still do.
There's contention on this. I would call it X-Men First Class.
I wouldn't call it X-Men First Class at all. I think that was a bit of a furphy. The person who posted that one to TFW. There are things that happen in the movie that make it impossible to connect it to 2007 Transformers.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. But like in terms of.
But they connected X-Men First Class to the main X-Men franchise, like that. But
they also directly contradicted it. Here's what I'm saying, and like, so yeah, I don't know. I feel like the intention seems to be. So as of right now, I could see this is probably just going to be a reboot for a series, but it seemed to me like that in production, the idea was leave it open so that it could technically still be canon. Because let's be real, these movies have broken their canon 100 times before, right? So it could technically still be related, but if it needs to be a reboot, it can be a reboot.
I think that's probably accurate. But like I said, there are events that occur in the movie that definitely throw it into reboot territory, and like you can't go back and change some of it.
No, nice. That's cool. Like, not that I have a problem with Bayverse, but it's just good because then they can redo shit again. Like, put other characters in and stuff again. Like, make them.
Yeah, they can. I was saying, I've been trying to figure out my thoughts on the movie. I'm going to see it again tomorrow night. I'll I'll probably have a little bit more to say maybe on Sunday or so. But like for me, what I find interesting about the production side of the movie is, or the production side of the movie, and watching the sorry, some things are popping up on my screen. Well, watching the movie as a somewhat detached fan, observing. A somewhat detached fan of observing from, well, not the sidelines, but my cinema seat. To me, like, this is totally consistent with the Transformers reboot, right? Like, it's taken elements of things that we know, and it's taken parts of lore that have come past in things gone by. There's a couple of things that people are saying kind of references Transformers Prime in a way, but not really. And there's things that we've seen before, like how Transformers arrive on Earth and Sector 7 and things like that. And the movie takes them and gives them a bit of a new spin. Like, this is definitely, I say definitely, it's not necessarily the same Sector 7 that we've seen in the Bay movies. And so, we can definitely appreciate that in a rebooted universe, Sector 7 might still exist, but have a slightly different remit, a slightly different staff, and slightly different powers and goals.
Stuff like that doesn't ever bother me, like all that. Like, I just think like it's good to see more, like, like, obviously, which I haven't seen the movie. I'll try to see it tomorrow. But as you said, there's a lot longer scene in Cybertron than what we thought. That's quite exciting. But
it's not necessarily a lot longer scene, but yeah,
it was actually shorter than I imagined it would be.
I would go with that.
But like the fact that they showed that and showed Soundwave and stuff, like it's not, like no movie's ever going to be exactly how we imagined, if they're copying from a show or a cartoon or like a game. But it's good to see like this, have a nice, real good try at it, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Jason was saying, the idea that it is Transformers has always borrowed elements of previous continuities.
Yeah.
So if this movie seems to very heavily, it borrows a few key elements from G1 and a few key elements from the 07 movie, and it blends them together, and I think it comes out really well for it.
Yeah, I agree. And so that's kind of how we I feel like that's probably about as far as we should go for this episode, given that there'll be a lot of people who haven't seen the movie yet. We don't really want to spoil them too much.
Yeah, it's hard to really just, like, I'll say it felt good to come out of a movie feeling like legitimately positive about a Transformers movie.
I want to just like, I'm kind of tempering that enthusiasm, right? Like, I enjoyed it, but I do feel like there are things that still didn't trouble me, but didn't necessarily sit right with me anyway.
It's not a masterpiece. It's a good movie. I would call it that much. But I wouldn't call it remarkable.
Yeah.
As a movie, as a piece of Transformers media, fantastic. Loved every minute.
Yeah, see, if it goes well, I'd just be interested to see if then, obviously, if they make a second, if it just then gets to be a Transformers movie or if it's going to be Bumblebee too.
Well, isn't it supposed to be an Optimus Prime movie in like early planning at this stage? Like last people were talking about was they were circling the Tron Legacy director.
That'd be nice if they did.
I heard that, but I thought that was actually denied, at least in terms of the director. But I know they had Peter Cullen sort of stand up at Comic-Con and ask the Bumblebee panel what you have to do to get a movie made about your character. And I think we all joked at the time that it's, obviously all the movies thus far have been about Optimus Prime anyway. But the thought is that the next, look, this was meant to be a standalone movie. It was not really meant to be the start of a big franchise reboot or rewrite. And so if the next story they do is an Optimus Prime story, then it could have it might be set in the 90s or something. You don't really know. Like they might dance around continuity for a while. It could be set in the modern day.
No, that's fair enough. Then that answers that for me.
Yeah. So there is a thought, since we have mentioned the Cybertron set parts. There is some thought that there might be a Cybertron set CGI movie coming. Travis Knight, the director of Bumblebee, has said that he would like to see it, but he's also said that as far as his future goes, he's going back to the animation studio that he's been working at for quite a long time, and so anything that happens in the future on Transformers might well happen without him. And I think that's probably okay. I feel like this was a go at handing the reins to the franchise over to someone else, and I don't think that they needed to hand complete control of the franchise to someone else as like the incoming showrunner for a new series of something. But I think it's okay to sort of have a bit of an overarching view of where they're going to go and hand it to different directors to see what they do.
Well, I mean, I think there was talk about Michael Bay had a role as like a creative director, creative producer, something like that on this.
The production and the financing and the producers and everything on this are exactly the same people as have been behind all of the other movies.
Yeah, and there was talk about Travis Knight sort of moving into one of those roles as sort of just, not someone who's directing a movie, writing plots, anything like that, but who's just there giving a bit of creative steering.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure that he feels like he wants to do that. I feel like the news in the last few days has been that he's done this and he's done with it and he's going to move on.
At the end of the day, the only things I really ever hated with the Michael Bay movies was obviously the Devastator design. Just silly. I don't like the balls and that. Like it's just crap humor that I just don't think was needed. And it was just a shit design. And the fact that Megatron constantly kept changing design every movie. Other than that, movies are good. Like I enjoy them honestly. Like I always went to see them and felt pretty good after leaving them. Right. But this one, like I'm pretty excited but yet worried for it at the same time. Like when I was never really worried if a Bayverse movie was bad, like because I never judged it. But like this, I'm judging more if anything because it does have like some older looking bots and G1 references. Like so we'll see.
You feel like this one has more of a chance of stomping on your childhood than the Bayverse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting perspective to take. I'm interested to hear your thoughts once you've seen the movie.
Yeah, I really wish I did get to see it today. But I'll definitely go see it tomorrow around midday.
Cool. So we have had talk that Allspark Pictures would be overseeing a CGI prequel to the Bayverse, so that was set on Cybertron. And I feel like after seeing Bumblebee today, if that took a pivot to being a CGI prequel to Bumblebee set on Cybertron, I wouldn't be surprised because I feel like this is kind of a test run for them. And I look far from being surprised. I think I would welcome that. I think I would really enjoy seeing such a movie.
Well, yeah, I think one of this movie's perhaps its greatest strengths was making the robots characters, like to a greater extent than at any other movie. Like
some of them, yeah. Look, a vast amount of them on Cybertron. Yeah, they're not developed characters, but I feel like
the ones that are there,
they're fine.
Yeah, there are ones that are. The ones that do have decent amounts of dialogue,
I think this is a topic that we should talk about when we actually get into
I can't really say what I want to say here.
Let's not. Let's just table that and we'll talk about it later. Well, talk about it when we're ready for it. Last piece of Bumblebee related news. If you are in Japan and you're
$1,000.
Well, I don't think they're $1,000. They're pieces of acrylic. Prime One Studio, they're making acrylic keychains for the Bumblebee movie, and nobody really knows why, but there they go.
They'll only be sold at Aqua City Odaiba and the Amphitheatre Karuka Figure Museum.
Yeah. You know what? I gotta say, I wouldn't mind the set of these. I feel like just sort of seeing this sort of hanging off someone's bag. I like it. The Bumblebee logo obviously is just sort of like a generic stand that each of the keychains can insert into.
If you got the full set, then it'd be all right, and then it'd also probably actually be worth something.
Probably, yeah. Maybe it'd be worth $1,000, but yeah. Just looking at these, I do want to go back to one thing that I thought was funny about Bumblebee, and it's not really a spoiler or anything. It's just more, how is it that in 2018 this doesn't happen? The Bumblebee logo that's used on the poster and all the promotional art is not the same logo that you got on screen in the movie.
I didn't. I didn't notice that, but I think you're actually right.
Like, it's just really weird. It's just, especially because the logo, when they did show the logo on screen in the movie, like, it was kind of inconsequential. Like, it didn't tie into anything. It was just like, yeah, here's the logo of the movie. And it's like, why wouldn't you use the same logo that you're using in the promotional art? Like, it just ties things together.
I think the one in the movie was a bit more like, it was all sort of like electronically detailed.
Yeah.
So it came straight after that Cybertron scene. So
yeah, but like, it didn't. Yeah, it didn't really need.
It's inconsequential, that being different. So I don't know why they made it different.
Yeah. Anyway, there we go. So look, if someone is in Japan in March 2019, wouldn't mind someone picking up some of these keychains for me. Thank you. And I feel like that's the end of the news. Does anyone have any more news that we need to talk about this week?
I don't think so.
No more news to talk about. So let's get on to a very brief, because we are recording quite late at night. Let's get on to a bit of a brief discussion about new acquisitions. Now, Max, I believe you have a fairly major one.
Yeah. Oh, it's probably not as fancy as you think it is. I know I wrote Flame Toys, but it is not one of those big fancy ones. This is from their model kit line.
Oh, nice.
So that's their take on Starscream. I mean, for starters, the figure is incredible, but like, the creative process behind all these Fans Toys things is something I find, and Flame Toys things is something I find ridiculous. So, Sentinel, they do a lot of, like, over fancy figures, and they have various subsidiaries. So Sentinel, they do like sort of bit like artsy type action figures. So they did that giant vinyl Scorponok.
Is that Starscream a kit though, or like a figure? Did you?
This one's a model kit, but
yeah, cool. Because I've seen the Prime model kit of them. Like,
yeah, it's one of the better model kits I've ever owned, actually.
Oh, nice.
But then, so Flame Toys is part of Sentinel, and so they've got two different sub brands. So there's the Kurikara Kuru ones, which are like, they're generally based off of IDW designs, and their articulation is done by Chemical Attack, who they do like a small team who does like a lot of little like projects for different companies, but usually Sentinel.
Is that stickers on the wings? Like, it looks foiled, like in the light occasionally as you're moving it? Like,
yes. So the wings is foil stickers on there, so it's all got a big gloss to it. But the finish on the plastic itself is quite nice. It's not, it's not like a matte or glossy, but it's it's a decent quality finished plastic, and like nice and solid as well. And so,
how long does it take to assemble?
To about 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because I'm crap at building model kits, but yeah. So
it's been years since I've built a model kit, so I'm really curious.
Yeah, I sort of stopped making them, but I did this one because it just looked fantastic.
Mm.
And the actual, so like, the figure itself is engineered by Flame Toys, but the actual design of like the original, this is like a unique take on Starscream. So this design is done by Akira Amamiya, who's he's a guy from Trigger. So he's done a whole bunch of stuff like Inferno Cop and Kill la Kill and all that. But he's a massive Transformers nerd. So he's currently doing a show called SSSS.Gridman, and every single human character in that is a Transformers reference.
Yeah, I've seen that, but post about that. I'll have to start
the internet is in love with that show.
Yeah, mostly just because everything is a Transformers reference. So it's kind of fitting that he winds up designing a figure for Flame Toys, and as it happens, it's a fantastic little figure. Like, I wasn't expecting all the, engineering bells and whistles of larger Kurikara Kuru figures, but I actually managed to pack a decent amount into this guy. So he's got like figure art style hips and like 3 segments in the torso there, so he can pull off fairly decent amount of poses.
So is it glued together?
There are some parts it advises you gluing. Like I'm gonna have to. You're supposed to have a nose cone sticking off the back here that I'm gonna have to glue later because that won't hold on. But everything else, I've just snapped together, and that's all been fine. Like nothing's fallen apart or anything.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So you don't really have to apply glue.
No, it'd be like
No, it's not essential.
Yeah. Cool. Right.
And if you want that sort of Flame Toys experience, like this is a much more affordable option than those larger figures.
Do you mind if I ask how much more affordable they are?
This guy ran me about $75,
mm-hmm.
which is a fair bit. Like it's pretty pricey for a model kit, but it's a really high quality one. And I guess Sentinel and Flame Toys stuff has always been
that's
a bit pricier. So
that's
like, I was okay paying that much.
Okay,
that's about standard for a like that size model kit, a decent one.
And so the finished result does look like he's probably about the size of a deluxe figure.
Yeah, he's actually, I don't know. I got pretty big hands, so he's actually about Voyager size.
Okay.
And the it weighs about the same as well. Actually, like this isn't. It's not your standard like model kit plastic. Like it's very solid. Like it feels like a retail Transformer.
Right. Okay. So that's good to know. That's quite surprising. Makes me feel like maybe I might get into some of these. See how they go.
Yeah, they're all like original designs. They're all they're neat little things. They're not gonna really represent the characters exactly on your shelf, but just as this cool, unique take on Starscream, it works perfectly. And there's an awesome story of the creative process behind it as well.
Cool. All right. I don't have new figures for myself this week. Actually, some stuff did arrive, but I haven't brought it home yet, so we can talk about that next time. John, how about yourself? Have you got any new acquisitions you want to show off?
No, I mean, I didn't get anything this week. I mean, the most recent thing I got was the eHobby Black Megatron, but you've probably showed that. You've probably got one.
That I did get that from you. Yes. So yes, that has shown up before, but like I like that you like it.
Yeah. Otherwise, I've got like the mass, like the Nemesis Prime, the mass one, like mass 1 OB.
Mega Action series.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Giant Nemesis Prime. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I can grab him.
So you have way more room than I do, I think, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah. He's pretty cool though.
What? Jeez, look at that.
Look, I just want to point out at this point, John is not large, and this bot is about the same size as him.
That's a beast of a figure.
He can put his arm around me, can hang out.
So it was at TF Nation. I think we a few of us encountered Becca with the Mega Action Megatron as well.
Have you seen that Leopard Prime? I want to get that one.
Lewin Industries, not Leppen. Leppen's the KO Lego manufacturers. Lewin Industries, I think they are. Yes.
Yeah, Lewin.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see that one in person at TF Nation, and there are a couple of people on the TCCA Facebook group who have actually received that figure and shown it off.
Yeah, because he's 45 centimeters,
the
mass ones, and that's 72 centimeters.
Yeah.
That's bigger than what your Titans Return Fort Max and everything.
Two of them, I think, are on their shoulders are literally as tall as me.
Yeah. So the Lewin Industries figure is a masterpiece style design, whereas the Mega Action is slightly different, slightly more detailed.
That's official, like the mass ones.
Yeah, of course. they're official because they don't transform.
Yeah.
All right. Look, I think that's about it. If you are watching the live stream, the TCCA Christmas donation drive ends tonight. There will be a live draw on Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. So a big thank you to people who've donated and supported the club, and your donations will enable us to go out and reach more fans in the following year as we go out to different conventions and different events around Australia. So thank you very much for that. And Brad will be conducting the live draw for that. So I think without much further ado, because it is getting on well late into the night, we might bring the show to a close. Thank you for listening, and if you are watching along with the live record, thank you for staying up late and checking us out. You can get in touch with us at transformersweekly.podbean.com for the episodes, the Australian Transformers Weekly Facebook page, and of course we're all in Transformers Collectors Club Australia on Facebook for discussion. If you're not already subscribed, you'll find the podcast on iTunes, Pocket Casts, YouTube, and more. There is an RSS feed on the website and in the show notes. We are a production of Transformers Collectors Club Australia. It's a registered club in Victoria run by volunteers who donate their time and money to make the club and everyone's experiences better and happier. Our goal is to connect Transformers fans around the country, and we do it by engaging the collecting community. You can find out more about the club, including some affordable yearly membership options, and that is my cat appearing on the podcast yet again.
Hi, Andy.
Yeah, he's gone now. At transformerscca.com. And that is all for us. And we'll be back with a review of Transformers Bumblebee in the next few days. And we'll probably restart the weekly shows fairly early in the new year. We'll have to catch up with all the Transformers news that will break over the holidays and through Bumblebee's release window. It is coming out in Australia officially next week on the 20th and overseas on the 26th. So we do actually get to see the movie a bit before some of the other parts of the world. All right, that is it from me. So I think without further ado, I think it's time to end the show. So
that's it for the rest of us.
Thank you for listening, and bye-bye. What was that?
Transform and roll out.
Yes, indeed. Transform and roll out. Thank you, guys.